is up, my fellow mobile gamers? In today's video, we got our dreaded
tier list
for the LR units in Memento Mori. Subscribe to this video. Basically, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. We're like 600 away for a special monumental video, 10K. We got a ridiculous amount of characters to go through, as you can see in the top right corner over there. I'm gonna make this bigger as we go through it, but it's gonna be a bit of a longer video. We're gonna try and do maybe like one or two brief mentions of some abilities for each character as to why I rated them how I did. For our rating system, we have S, A, B, and C. This is gonna be fun because I cannot pronounce any of these names. First up we got is Sultina. She has some okay damage. Most notable skill: if the attack deals a critical hit, it decreases the target's crit res by 80% and inflicts sleep. I mean, critical res by 80%. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous right there. That's almost 100%. Pretty much just makes landing critical attacks a lot easier, and this attack is on 2 random enemies, so it's a slight AoE. One thing that I do like about her passive right here is if she's inflicted with 2 or more debuffs, this skill dispels all debuffs from her. It activates 1 time every 4 turns. So pretty strong. A lot of debuffs are thrown around in this game, so pretty much just an easy cleanse. You don't really have to worry about having another character in the lineup with her who has like a lot of debuffing capabilities, because she has a self debuff, which I think is pretty strong. Her other passive ability is really strong as well. Whenever she takes damage equal to 10% or higher of her max HP, barrier layer is depleted and it nullifies the damage, so it just completely wipes away that damage. This is really good because it stops her from taking a high amount of damage very fast. Overall, I think she is a solid pick. Not S tier, but I definitely think she would be in the A tier. Next up, we have Amleth. Very strong damage dealer, lots of AoE damage. First skill does a bunch of damage to 3 random enemies. Second skill does 4 physical attacks to random enemies as well. So again, you're just getting some more kind of AoE attack damage. You're hitting multiple different enemies. But more notably, she never misses an opening, and each time she attacks, she has a 30% chance to deal 1 physical attack. So you got a 30% chance to just launch another free attack. Her notable passive skill I just want to go over is that anytime she takes damage that would reduce her HP to 0, she survives with 1 HP. So this gives her that really good survivability. Pretty much she cannot be one-shotted, which is really strong. And also, once you do level these up, which I'm not necessarily going over, I'm just going over the blanket skills and passive skills. When you do level these up, you'll see you get some really strong effects. Notably this one right here, once it's level 3, the number of turns of immortality becomes 2. That is very sick. I think she is one of the strongest units in the game. I would definitely put her in the S area. Next up, we have Fenra, however you say her name. Really good damage dealer, but also has some amazing healing and other things as well. Pretty much an all-around character who can pump out damage and also do some supporting as well. Does a bunch of damage to 1 random enemy, but also decreases 1 adjacent ally skill cooldown by 1. Very strong. If you have not noticed in this game, a lot of the skill cooldowns are relatively high. Most of them are around like 4 turns or 5 turns. Her second skill attacks 5 random enemies and dispels 2 debuffs each from both her and an adjacent ally. Passive ability: if an ally is attacked, then their remaining HP percentage becomes 50% or low. She goes ahead and restores HP to that ally. Can activate 1 time every turn, so you have a healing. And then the other passive, at the start of the battle, it just increases her defense by 30%. I mean, she's got pretty much everything you could want. 100%. I mean, you'd have to put her in the S. Really just a very well-rounded character that brings a lot to the table. Next up, we have Florence. This is just a high damage dealer. Pumps out a ton of damage, 3 physical attacks to enemies at random. Every time she deals a critical hit, increases the number of attacks. Her other special ability attacks 5 random enemy units. Then her passive ability, at the start of each turn, this skill increases her chance to deal crit hits by a percentage up to a maximum of 30. So the longer these battles go on with Florence, the more she's going to benefit. And then her other passive ability just increases her attack by 20%. So you'll see she's a very, very high damage dealer, but that's pretty much all she does though. That's the downside. So like, I would understand people could put her in the S and say she's just a really crazy damage dealer, but I would put her in the A just because that's pretty much all she does. She's kind of like a one-trick pony. She doesn't have anything else going on for her. Next up, we have Madi. I want to say Moody, but I think it's Madi. This is an interesting character because this character isn't good overall, but very good in certain situations. So she does a bunch of damage for random enemies, inflicts poison for 2 turns. Each turn at the start of the action phase, what poison does is it deals damage equal to 3% of a target's current HP. So this is very important. It's the current HP, not their maximum HP. So she can be really good for like a guild boss, but when it comes to something like just doing campaign levels, the 3% of the target's current HP really isn't going to burn that much. The passive ability, if she's attacked and her remaining HP falls below 70% and 40, she goes ahead and activates regenerate. So she does have a little bit of self-healing, but again, though, it has to reach that certain threshold before this is triggered. And the other passive ability just increases her attack by 15%. This is okay, but a lot of other characters have passives that increase their attack by 20%. So this is definitely reduced compared to a lot of the other characters that have this similar passive ability. An okay character. I would put her in the B area. I just think that her poison attacks and that her other skill as well are just kind of, they're a bit iffy, situational. They can be good. All right, next up we got Sabrina. Her first skill does a bunch of damage, 5 physical attacks to enemies at random. So you're getting some really good damage from that skill. Second skill is pretty interesting. Deals 3 physical attacks and has a 30% chance to decrease all targets' speed by 10% for 1 turn. If an enemy inflicted with decreased speed becomes a target, she goes ahead and does more damage. This can be really good for stuff like PvP when you speed is very important, like the turn order. So this can be very good for something like that. At the start of the turn, this skill dispels 1 debuff from her. It activates 1 time every 4 turns. So she's got some built-in debuffing as well, which is okay, not bad. She just kind of lacks in the damage aspect. And then she also has her other passive, which just increases her max HP. So she kind of just is like a weird kind of like wants to be a tank, but not, you know, because you're increasing her HP. She has the ability to remove debuffs. But then like her attacks are kind of like okay, they're just kind of weird, and they also have relatively high cooldowns at like 5 turns, her first one, where most of them have like skill cooldowns of like 4 turns. So she just is in like a kind of weird space. I would put her in like the B. I think she is kind of one of the weaker ones, but not the weakest. Moving along, we have Freezy, however you say this name. Very, very strong, amazing hero. She goes ahead and does a little bit of damage, 3 random enemies, but she's a really good healer. That's what she's most used for and most notable for, is the fact that her active skill, her second one, goes ahead, restores HP equal to a high percentage of her magic to 3 allies with the lowest remaining HP. So you're getting really good AoE healing right there. Her other passive ability, not only does it decrease the skill damage, but once you have this leveled up to like level 3, she also gains the ability to increase allies' chance to evade by 10% at level 2 and then 15% at level 3. So that's a really strong. You're not only decreasing the skill damage your characters take, but also increasing the chance that they just completely evade an attack from the enemy 100%. This is one of the best characters in the game. I don't even need to say anymore. 100%. You got to put her in the S. Very, very strong support character. Next up, we have Armor. Her first skill does a bunch of damage to the enemy with the lowest remaining HP percentage. This is really important because when she defeats an enemy with this skill, she just immediately launches another attack to the remaining 4 enemies. A very strong skill that can just wipe out a bunch of enemies. Her first passive ability I absolutely love. If she is defeated, this skill revives her and restores HP to 30% of her max HP. And she also deals 1 direct attack equal to 10% of the total damage taken by her over the past 20 turns. I mean, she just basically comes back to life and just obliterates someone. So, I mean, this right here, absolutely, I love this skill. I think she is one of the better ones. I wouldn't put her in the S. You could put her in the S. I would definitely see that, but I'm going to put her in the A. All right, moving along. Next one we have is Rain. She is a main damage dealer. 3 physical attacks to random enemies. If she does a crit, the skill increases her attack by 30%. You'll notice though, this is a high cooldown at 5 turns. And then her other second ability goes ahead and does a bunch of damage to 4 random enemies. Passive ability grants her a shield equal to a percentage of her attack for 2 turns. That's okay, kind of makes her a bit tanky. And then her passive ability, if her remaining HP percentage is below 50%, increases her chance to deal a crit attack. The problem with this is stuff like if she's not quite below 50%, it doesn't trigger. Say it's at like 52%. And then next turn she gets one-shotted, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely think she is one of the weakest LR units in this game, so we're putting her in the C area. Next up we have is, I want to say Diane. She's another character who has some uniqueness to her, which makes her good in certain situations, but she's not like overall rounded good. Her first skill does a bunch of damage and it inflicts bleed for 3 turns, which is pretty good. They take a bunch of damage equal to 25% of her attack. So this can be a bit better than the poison, where the poison only takes damage based off their remaining health, whereas this is just damage based off of her attack. So you can kind of buff her attack like crazy high and really get some passive damage from that bleed effect. Her other skill's kind of weird. Activates when her remaining HP percentage is higher than 40%. Decreases her HP by 35% of her max HP and deals 1 direct attack equal to 60 of the consumed HP to 2 random enemies. I don't like this because she's just sacrificing too much of her own health to just put out damage. Like, I understand the idea behind this and it can be good, but I just feel like it puts her in such a bad position to just get 1-shotted or 2-shotted the next turn and pretty much just be out of the game. So I don't know. I just don't like that one too much. If she stays on the battlefield until the very end, if she is attacked, her remaining HP percentage falls below 40, while the number of allies who are 2 or more, this skill grants invisibility. Again, it's really, really strong, but it's so situational. It's just really, really situational in those aspects. Like I said, she has the potential to be good. I'd put her in the B. Next up, we have Ivy. Again, this is another one that's very similar. You'll notice that a lot of the characters we're putting in the B area, they have some like really uniqueness kind of skills to them. But again, they're like situational and they don't like help you out all the time. And then she deals 1 direct attack equal to 320% of Ivy's dex to an enemy with the highest remaining HP percentage. So this can be good. If you build up her dexterity very high, this can really help, you know, put some damage out. Her other ability deals 1 physical attack to an enemy with the lowest remaining HP. The problem with this is it only hits 1 enemy, but it has the potential to hit multiples if she has a buff on her. So, you know what I mean? Like, if she doesn't have that buff, it really is just like, it's so much weaker than other heroes. There's other heroes in this game that have skills that hit multiple enemies regardless. There's no condition that has to be met. Whereas like skills like this, there has to be a condition met to really get that full effect. Just increasing her attack if she's pretty much the only person alive. Again, though, it doesn't really help that much. She's another one of the weaker ones. I'm gonna put her in the B area. Next up, we have Merlin. Now, this hero, I just don't like. I'm sure some people will argue with me. She doesn't really do hardly any damage at all. She's mostly just like a buffer, debuffer. Her first skill, you'll see if the ally with the highest attack is afflicted with a debuff, this skill dispels one debuff from them. Like, this just feels so useless because there are a lot of heroes in this game that have self debuffs built into their passive abilities. So the fact that you're wasting a whole skill just to debuff someone is pretty bad, I think. And then her other skill dispels one buff each from the 2 enemies with the highest remaining HP percentages and deals a magic attack. This is okay. I think this is a bit better than the first skill. And then the passive skills are kind of just like, they're just mad. They're just okay. They're nothing really special. You get like a little bit of HP regeneration, but again, there's like a condition that needs to be met. Definitely, I think this is one of the weakest LR units. I'm putting her in the C area. Next up we have is Cordy, I think is how you say the name. Very, very good damage dealer. Deals 4 physical attacks to enemies at random. First skill. Second skill does a bunch of damage to 5 random enemies. So both skills are hitting multiple enemies, which is really strong. But more importantly right here, if her remaining HP percentage is 50% or lower, her physical attack damage is multiplied by 1.5. That means she puts out a ridiculous amount of damage. Passive ability. So this is the thing that I want to mention is like a lot of heroes in this game have passive abilities where they're just like, oh, increase their attack by a percentage. Well, we had one that was 15%. That was very low. We had one that was 20%. That was a bit better. This one right here, though, 30%. This is just a blanket passive that increases the attack by 30%. It's very, very high. A lot better than those other ones. And then the other passive goes ahead and at the start of the turn, the skill grants unhindered to her for 1 turn. And the skill activates 1 time every 3 turns. You'll notice once you get it to level 3, it changes to a debuff immunity. So, I mean, stuff like this completely makes it pointless to have characters like Merlin, who just basically removes debuffs, when you have characters like Cordy who have debuff immunity built into them. So I definitely think this is one of the best LRs in the game. We're going to 100% put her in the S area. Next up we have is Nina. Does a bunch of damage to 5 random enemies. If the target is enhanced with a buff, the skill has a 60% chance to dispel the buff and grant that buff's effect to Nina. This is like so strong. You're not only dealing damage to a bunch of enemies, but you're stealing. I mean, come on, like this is so good. If the target's dex is lower, she does 60%. She has a 60% chance to dispel a debuff from her and inflict the debuff's effect on the target. She has the ability to remove debuffs from her, put them on other enemies, but she's also dealing damage. You're getting double value from her. I'm putting her in the A area. Hopefully you're still with me. I know this is a long video. There's just a lot of characters and stuff to go over. Next up we have is Mertilier. This is another one of the weakest LR units in this game. First skill does a bunch of damage to 4 random enemies and grants her with a shield. 25% of the skill's total damage for 3 turns. A bit tanky, I understand, yeah, but I just feel like she kind of falls off compared to a lot of the other ones. Her other skill goes ahead and decreases the skill cooldown time of the ally with the highest attack. This can be good, but again, though, that's all it does is like, that's it. She's got her that's an active skill. It's a 4-turn cooldown. Her passive ability, if her remaining HP is below 40, it grants regeneration. Again, it's a hard condition. It's a condition that needs to be met. And then the other just goes ahead and increases her debuff res by 30%. You'll notice she doesn't really do hardly any damage at all. She just really doesn't bring a lot to the table. Definitely put her in the C area. Next up, we have Mimi. This is another one that's, I think, a really weak LR unit. Does 4 physical attacks to enemies at random. The more enemies she defeats, the more her animal instincts are awakened, and it increases the number of attacks it deals by 1 up to a total of 8. This can be pretty good. It is a high cooldown, though, at 5. It increases the physical attacks damage is increased by 40% for each buff she is enhanced with. Again, these are just hard. They're hard conditions. They need to be met. If these conditions are not met, then like you miss out on so much. First passive, starting from the third turn at the start of each turn, if she's not taking any damage for 2 turns, this is like, this condition is ridiculous. You're pretty much always going, she's pretty much going to take damage by then. Like I said, she just has a lot of conditions that need to be met, and a lot of them are just, they're really ridiculous. I'm putting her in the C area 100%. I think she's really, really weak. Next up we have is Trapoon, whatever. A bunch of damage to 5 random enemies. Each time she uses this skill, it increases her magical attack by 70% of her attack. So really, really good. If you can pull this off twice, it really puts out a lot of damage. 4 turns, relatively low cooldown. Other skill deals a bunch of damage to 5 random enemies. And then a hidden knife then flies out of the shadows, deals 1 direct attack to 1 random enemy. So really good damage. I mean, she's got 2 skills that put out some really good damage. Passive ability increases her max HP by 20%. You know, okay, I guess. It doesn't really synergize with like her build. It just feels like this is so random, right? Like she's got 2 really good like AoE damages, and then she just has a random passive that's like, let's just increase her max HP. But it doesn't synergize with anything else. If an enemy deals a critical hit, the skill has a 75% chance to dispel a buff from that enemy and grant the buff's effect to her. This is a really good passive ability. I do like this, but I think she is one of the weaker ones. I would say better than the C. I would put her in the B because she does have some really good damage, has some potential there. Moving on, we have Hather. This is another one of the weaker LR units in this game. Does 1 physical attack equal to a pretty decent amount of damage to 2 enemies with the highest current HP, with a 20% chance to decrease their attack by 50%. If this triggers, it's really good, but again, it's a condition that has to be met. It's not guaranteed. The ones captivated by her dance are then invited to the world of dreams. If the target is afflicted with a debuff, the skill has a 20% chance to inflict faint on them. Again, it's a condition that has to be met. What I do like though is the fact that this skill attacks all enemies. This is something you do not see very often. A lot of the characters have abilities where it says attacks random enemies. So you could attack the same enemy twice or 3 times or whatever. This is guaranteed to attack all enemies. So this is like true AoE damage. So this is pretty good in that aspect. But I just think that like her passive abilities are also kind of like weak. Starting from the 3rd turn, at the start of each turn, if she's not taking any damage. Again, this is a god-awful passive ability. When she deals a basic attack, if it deals a critical hit, her chance to inflict a debuff increases by 10%. It just like, this just feels so wonky. Her skills just feel so like all over the place. I'm putting her in the C area. The only thing I like is her AoE, true AoE skill. Next up, we have one of the best supports in this game, Olivia. This is like, arguably, people would probably say Olivia is the best support over, what's the other girl's name? Freza, the one that heals. First active skill increases all allies' attack by 15% of Olivia's attack for 2 turns. This is sick. I mean, this is absolutely sick. If her attack is so high, you're helping your team pump out so much damage. I mean, and I'm not even going to mention when it's leveled up. The amount all targets defense and attack increase by become equal to 30%. So, I mean, you have the potential to not only increase your team's attack, but also their defense as well. She is... I mean, I can't like this. She's got really, really good stuff. Increase her max HP by 20%. Now, the reason behind this is like you want her to survive. She's a really good support. So like this kind of makes sense. A lot of her skills are just really good. You'll see if an enemy deals a crit, this skill decreases the enemy's attack. Very, very strong LR unit, 100% in the S area. We got 4 left. I hope you're still with me. I'm getting tired myself. I'm getting a bit winded from talking for so much. Next up, we have, I want to say Primavera. I think that's how you say it. A very strong LR unit, does a bunch of damage to enemies directly in front of her. The heart of the one who wears her song is stolen away. If the target's speed is lower, the skill has a 15% chance to inflict faint. Again, it's a bit conditionally, but she does some decent damage. Her other skill is a really low cooldown. I just want to mention that. 3 turns. Usually a lot of them are 4 or 5. Deals a bunch of damage to enemies directly in front of her. If the skill deals a crit and inflicts buff immunity on the target. Very, very strong. Also increase the target's attack by 2% for each ally other than her who is alive. So you're getting really good stuff like that. Once it's at level 2 and 3, increases the ally's attack and speed. Very, very strong unit in this game. Not an S tier. I wouldn't put her in the S. I'm putting her in the A. I mean, I could understand putting her in the S, but I think she's an A 100%. Moving along, we have Natasha. This is another really strong unit in this game. A bunch of damage to 3 random enemies. You'll also notice that if the target's strength is lower, this skill has a 50% chance to inflict fainted. Well, it's a relatively high chance, but again, though, it is a chance. And then as this is leveled up, you'll see it does gain some additional effects. Her passive ability, if her remaining HP is below 50 and she is attacked, the skill decreases the damage she takes. This is really, really good as well. Passive ability to increase her attack by 30%. Very, very strong unit in this game. I'm putting her in the A. I definitely think some people will argue and put her in the B because she does have like a few like skills that are kind of like situational, like her first skill is situational. But I think she's a really strong unit. She just pumps out a lot of damage. Moving along, our second to last, we have Fortina. She's a really strong unit. Her first skill grants all allies a shield equal to a percentage of her attack and regeneration for 1 turn. This is really, really strong. You're getting shielding. You're getting some regen on your characters. I mean, the fact that it's AoE, it's all of your team. This is a really, really strong skill. Her second skill deals damage to an enemy with the highest remaining HP percentage, and it restores HP equal to 80% of this skill's total damage to the ally with the lowest. So you're getting some really good healing off of this. And then her passive ability at the start of the turn, the skill grants unhindered to her for 2 turns. Cannot be dispelled. The skill activates once every 5 turns. And then you'll notice that once it does go ahead and level it up to 3, the targets of the skill become Fortina and the ally with the highest attack. So this triggers on 2 characters, not just her at level 3. Very, very strong skill. Other passive skill, increase her defense by 15%. Another unit I would definitely say is in the A area. Finally, our last unit is Luna Lin. One of the strongest LR units in this game. You already know we're going to put her in the S area. Deals a bunch of damage to all enemies. Very, very strong. Not just random enemies, but every single enemy. And then also you'll notice if it deals a crit hit, it inflicts silence on the target for 1 turn. So if it hits a crit on all the enemies, they all get silenced. I mean, this is absolutely a sick skill. I mean, it's really strong. That's why it does have a 7-turn cooldown. This is what's kind of tough about it, but it's really strong. I mean, if this was like 5 turns, it'd be so overpowered. And then she also just, you know, she just has amazing, amazing skills. Increase all allies' physical defense by a percentage. Decrease the damage she takes by 25%. We're putting her in the S area. That is the tier list, my friends. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And this was ridiculously long to make, so hopefully you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. I'll see y'all in the next video. Stay happy, stay safe, my friends. I love y'all. Have an amazing weekend, a week, whatever. Whenever you're watching this, have an amazing day, night. Stay happy, stay safe. Peace.